So let's go back to it. Donald Trump telling Americans the golden age now begins. He's the 47th president of the United States. And of course, he was previously the 45th president of the United States. He's got straight back to work. He's signing dozens of executive orders. He's pardoned those involved in the January 6th riots, withdrawn the US from the Paris climate deal, and declared a national emergency at the border with Mexico. Let's speak with Adam Coleman, columnist at the New York Post. Adam, good afternoon to you, sir.
Thank you for having me back on.
Now, of course, presidents are allowed to sign executive orders. He's not the first person to do it, but boy, he's hit the ground running, hasn't he?
Yeah, you can definitely tell he's more motivated than he was his first time around. I think that there was so much that was done negatively during Biden's administration that in many ways he feels not only validated in his claims when he was running for office and he ended up losing to Biden, that there's an issue with the immigration system, there's an issue at the border. And we saw what Biden's fix is for it, and basically to do nothing and actually let it get worse.
Yeah.
To allow illegal immigration to move forward. So I think now, not only is he making these sweeping changes, but I don't think there's as much pushback as if he was to try to do something like this in 2016.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. There is a sense that perhaps even those that wouldn't have previously supported Donald Trump are looking at this going, look, we needed a kickstart. We needed something to happen. And then this new phrase, the golden age begins now, which I think is frankly genius.
Yeah, kudos to his speechwriter.
No, indeed, yeah. I've got a funny feeling somebody came up with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you got a sense, and this was the first time my wife, who's not very political, sat down and watched a ceremony like this of him getting sworn in and saw the seriousness in his face even before he was sworn in. I've been seeing, especially since the assassination attempt, he seems far more serious, far more determined, and far more willing to do the thing that people say you're not supposed to do. Yeah. He just announced that he was going to put some tariffs on Canada and Mexico, a thing that no one would have done before. But there is a necessity to do something like this, at least as a negotiating tactic. So I don't think he's hindered by it. And also the other thing that kind of works to his advantage, he's a one-term president, yeah, which has its pros and cons. But the pro is you're not running for re-election again. So you're going to do the thing that you think needs to be done. You believe that the American people want done. And you don't have to worry about how will this look in a campaign ad against you? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely right. The executive orders are interesting. It's not a straightforward green light for success, of course. They can be challenged. They can be ratified. There can be all sorts of things happen before they literally become the law of the land, right?
Absolutely. Everything gets checked to see if it's constitutionally sound. There were certain things that Biden tried to do as far as like the student loans. He tried doing OSHA to force people to get vaccinated, which they found to not be constitutional. They can't use OSHA to do something like that. So that's the great thing about our system. There are checks and balances in the judicial aspect as well. But when it comes to something like this, what I don't want him to do is be overly reliant on the pen, because we saw what happened when you do that. He did that a lot in his first term. And as soon as Biden got into office, he undid every little thing that he did. So this needs to be an opportunity, especially with the Republicans holding all three branches. The Republicans need to pass laws. This is the opportunity to do so. So fine, you want to do some sort of executive order for immigration, but there needs to be some sort of solid law that will pass all three branches, and we don't have to worry about this moving forward.
Yeah, there is a sense that some, not unreasonably, have observed that he's throwing too much at the wall here, and okay, some of it will stick. He's creating some mood music. I think we all get that, but he's got a big old to-do list, right?
Yeah, very much so. But one thing I will say is, he seems like he has a plan. I know we're supposed to start with mass deportations very shortly. Last I heard, Chicago is going to be the starting point, starting today. We'll see if that is something that actually occurs. But Tom Homan has been gung-ho about massive deportations of people who are not supposed to be here.
Sure.
There seems to be a plan. He's been acting like the president, to be honest with you, even before he became the president. So I think that there's a plan involved. It's not just him getting in there and just writing this wish list of executive orders. There seems to be far more of a plan. He seems to have more serious people who are around him this time around than previous. So I'm far more optimistic, and I think a lot of Americans, even ones who are on the fence about him, are more optimistic about him this time around than the first.
Yeah, there is that very real sense. And of course, you know, it works or it doesn't work. But one of the things that he has done is kind of injected a real degree of confidence and a sense of positivity, which is crucial, yes. Right? And you know, the golden age begins. There it is right there.
Yes. I think if someone, there's always going to be people who are going to be irrational about Donald Trump. There's nothing you could do about them. But the people, and I would say most Americans are relatively pragmatic and somewhere in the middle. When they listen to him this time around, he's not being as bombastic, right? He's being a little bit jovial at times, but he seems more serious. And I think a lot of Americans were open to having someone who is a relative outsider like Donald Trump come in. But at the same time, they want someone to have some sort of leadership quality, and leaders are to be taken seriously. So I do have a sense that more people are taking him seriously, including world leaders, are taking him more seriously this time around. And I do think that he is showing himself to be more of a leader thus far. We'll see as time goes on. But he's not tweeting every day. He's not getting into bickering fights. He's not fighting with the press as of yet.
Yeah.
But he's focused. He seems more focused, even just in the short term, than he would have years ago.
And Adam, just a final point. I don't know what you made of Elon Musk giving his speech yesterday. He walked on stage. It looked like he just drank a pint of bleach or something. You know, he was dancing around like dancing around like I've never seen Musk move. He was throwing shapes there. And then, of course, he got into a little bit of, well, I wouldn't say hot water because I think it was nothing, but many people suggesting he gave a big rousing speech and then did a Nazi salute. I mean, my first response to that is as if.
Yeah, anyone who's watching it, he's clearly grabbing at his heart and kind of like throwing it into the crowd. This is what I'm talking about. It's the same type of tactic that ultimately has allowed the Democrats to lose, right? And so if the left-leaning media wants to do this, guess what? They're going to continue to die off. CNN is dying off and may one day die soon because of stuff like this.
Yeah.
So if they want to do that, fine, but Americans aren't buying it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that, you know, Mr. Musk may not be everybody's idea of a great kind of figurehead in politics or in the inner circle of Mr. Trump, but I mean, the idea that he would just suddenly out of nowhere become a neo-Nazi, I mean, you know, it's just sort of beyond extraordinary. You know, it's like you've got people talking about this, losing their mind over this, as if he'd sort of, you know, picked up a photo of Martin Luther King and set fire to it or something. You know, it was that kind of surety, these people, oh, he's definitely did this. Well, you know, he definitely didn't. I mean, that's the point. Anyone can see that, but you're absolutely right. One of the reasons why Trump is in office now is because of half-wits that make those kind of daft accusations against people like Elon Musk.
Exactly. And listen, this is going to happen. But I think that there are more media outlets who are waking up. Fair criticisms are warranted. I think American people are fine with fair criticisms. Donald Trump is not immune from it. I voted for Donald Trump, but I might criticize him in the future.
Sure.
As we should, our leaders. But when you have something that's disingenuous, when you're manufacturing something that he said, when you're taking things out of context, editing stuff in a way that's unfavorable, this is the stuff that people are over.
Yeah. Spot on. Adam, great point to finish on. Nice to speak again. We'll speak, I'm sure, in the future. Adam Coleman, he's a columnist over there at the New York Post.